Are you pimping me out now? Are you pimping me out? Who's the pimp and who's the whore here? I mean, which one is the whore?
And we are back once again for the second half of action here in this 6 versus 8 matchup. Currently, the Bridgetown Menace ahead of the Central Mass Maelstrom 97-72 as we get ready to kick this one off. We'll have to see if Central Mass has made any adjustments to their game as they trail by 25. Looking to play tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the 5th place game. Or excuse me, the 5 o'clock game tomorrow. That will be the fifth place game that the
Sorry, I have it right here.
Winner of this we'll get to.
Julia Childless back here on the mic. I was talking to Bob Noxious, who was distracting me from what I'm actually here for, which is some awesome men's roller derby, alongside Ecstatic. How was your trip out here, sir?
It was swell. Had a nice drive. It was a late drive, but it was a nice drive through Illinois.
Nothing wrong with Illinois. I haven't been through Illinois yet, so we were on our cross country
on your world tour?
on my U.S. tour and my RV. So this is our pit stop.
Where's the next stop on the RV tour?
The next ultimate stop is Vermont for a while, so I'm going to be over in Mass Maelstrom country over there. So also the Quad Fathers.
Full of all kinds of great derby
Definitely,
teams out
the
there.
Death Quads are out there.
Pioneer
One of my
Valley.
favorite leagues of all time, the lovely Girl Fox, who actually I've been hanging out with the past few days, so I had a chance to chat with her. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. I think Vermont's going to be gorgeous when we're out there for a couple of months, and then we'll kind of decide where to go from there. But definitely we had to put this on our list because I could not miss this amazing men's derby going on.
Indeed. Well, some of the skaters have taken the track. The officials are out there just waiting for the all clear to have the first whistle.
Halftime is officially over, so we should be getting started here. If you're in the venue and you're sort of catching us on the stream on your computer, and if you're not on the venue, look this up on your computer. Rydell Skates, rydellskates.com, and I do see some Rydells right across from me at the Derby for All booth. Check them out. They are doing fittings and things like that, so you can check those out. rydellskates.com. Roller.rydellskates.com, and what you can do is design your own skate. They have a color lab, color program, so you go in and plug in your colors, and it'll show you how pretty your skates will look, and then you get them, and they're those colors. So if you want to, team design or things like that, you can do that.
A little customization.
Also, tune in to 88.1 KDHX today to hear real DJs playing music you won't hear anywhere else. And you can stream it all online at kdhx.org. 88.1 KDHX independent music plays here. So if you're not into all the hip groovy stuff, which we all kind of are, I mean, Call Me Maybe, the big hit of the summer, I can't lie, very peppy tune. I'll do it in karaoke, I don't have any problem with that. But if you like some of the independent stuff, as I do as well,
Indeed.
Definitely check out KDHX and
always good to support independent music and independent radio.
Exactly. All right, I had a very nice gentleman in stripes, Mr. Rock, over here, tell me that they were sorting out a couple of things and will be underway as quickly as we can.
Always important to make sure that everything is sorted.
Well, and it's always nice to do that right at the beginning, because then you're not in the middle of the bout kind of stopping the stream of play. Everybody can kind of maintain that, that role that they've been on, and so that's really helpful as well. And I think the players understand that as well. So we'll just chat on the mic about all the exciting things that have happened up until this point. A quick overview of what's been happening today. Our first game of the day was number 1 seed Your Mom taking on Mass Maelstrom, who is playing right now. Mass Maelstrom, great effort on their part. Absolutely amazing bout. Your Mom coming out victorious there. The next bout of the day was
that was the St. Louis Gatekeepers
Thank
bout
you very much.
against the Dallas Deception. And St. Louis coming out on top in that one as well, although, just like the Magic City Puget Sound bout, a very physical bout between those two teams.
Yeah, definitely. And the third game was New York Stock Exchange, the defending champions, taking on Portland. And Portland, obviously, we talked about that before, just giving them a lot more than they were expecting, I think. A little bit worrisome for New York there for a couple of minutes, but they did manage to come out on that one. And then the one we just saw before this absolutely blew my mind. Magic City Misfits take on Puget Sound Outcast. And just, I've talked to several people since then. Everybody seems, really happy with the outcome. It was a really tough bout, and I think people are just really proud of the effort they put in and what they were able to show us about the Derby community. And I saw a lot of hugging, a lot of handshaking and smiles afterwards, and I think it's great that the guys are just really tough on each other on the track, and then afterwards they can come out and really support roller derby as a whole. I think that's absolutely amazing.
The thing that really struck me the most about that particular game today was the reaction of the crowd. The crowd was more vocal during that game than at any other point during the day today.
And there were more moments of silence. Val Capone and I would look up and everybody would just be staring in our direction. And I turned to Val and I said, there is no sound in here. And then all of a sudden
it would be punctuated.
Blast of sound, and it was like everybody was staring at a painting briefly and there was sort of a delay and then everybody would freak out. So I think people were just so mystified by the whole thing, and they were so intent on watching it that there was just dead silence in here at moments, and then just crazed lunacy. So,
well, and it's, as we all know, these big events usually attended primarily by Derby-centric folks. Everybody in here has, or almost everybody in here has, a pretty vast knowledge of Derby and interest in the game, and every fan is just dialed into what's going on the track.
I got to tell you, I was reading through our shout outs for our sponsors, and I absolutely love this. I love Green Monster, first of all. They're one of my favorite derby companies of all time. And this is the tagline I'm reading. Green Monster Roller Sports. If you're skating on crap, it's not from us.
That's right. Important to differentiate.
Well, I think that's fantastic. The other cool thing that's happening, have you heard that the New York Stock Exchange is going to the UK?
Indeed, next month.
I know. I'm so excited
the UK.
about this. I'm so pumped about it. It's going to be so cool. They're going to the UK. They're playing Manchester's New Wheeled Order and London's Southern Discomfort. And they're going to try and expand MRDA across the ocean. How cool is that?
It's awesome. One of our other announcers, Bob Noxious, of course, talking earlier about the podcast that he participates in over the pond there, that's produced right there in Lincolnshire, I believe. Yeah. It's one of the shires.
One of the shires. Where the hobbits live.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been over there. But I've listened to that show. It's a very good show produced over there in the UK about roller derby. They talk about all kinds of roller derby, not just in the UK, but all around the world, really. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they have to say about the New York Stock Exchange coming over there next month.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just such a cool thing that they would even do that. And they've just been saving up money and really fundraising as a team. And so check out their website. I know they're selling T-shirts to help fund that trip.
Indeed.
You can get a Shuck the UK T-shirt. They're actually really snazzy. One of the guys did up a design, and they're really, really cool looking. So you want to grab one of those and see if you can get one and support the New York Stock Exchange. Really support all of Derby in that way, because they're really helping to expand it out a lot.
So during one of those last little bits, we were talking about the some of the stuff going on in Derby. We did get a little fist bump from Jack Hammerd, who came up to the table. So he's obviously feeling a little bit better, going to be back in the game for the second half. That's got to be great news for the Central Mass Maelstrom.
And that's great to hear. I mean, Jack Hammerd is such a huge defense for them. I mean, he's a big guy, he's a big hitter, he's very concise, and he's a great guy to have around. He's great for team morale because he just gets super excited about Derby. He was one of the first guys from Central Mass to come say hi to me at Spring Roll, and he was just really pumped about roller derby and just really wanted everything to go well. And I think that's what's so cool about some of these newer leagues too, is that they're just excited to be here.
So apparently it's taking a little bit longer than we may have initially thought to get things sorted out. We've got the teams back sort of in warm-up mode, taking a few laps around the track to stay loose before we get going in the second half. So it looks like we'll have just a little bit more time. Championship game coming up on Sunday. If you have, for whatever reason, to miss a lot of the action between now and then, you want to be sure to tune in on Sunday evening, tomorrow evening, a little before 7 o'clock, to make sure you don't miss the to-be-determined championship bout.
Definitely. That's the two games that are going on tomorrow are Des Moines versus Magic City and New York Stock Exchange versus the Gatekeepers. So we're either going to see another New York set up with somebody, or we're going to see the Gatekeepers take it and try and beat that person as well. And it's just really hard to tell at this point. I couldn't even begin to make a guess as to how this is going to go. I mean, these 4 teams are phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this, I think you pretty much had to acknowledge that any of the top 5 could take it.
Definitely.
And obviously one of those top 5 is knocked out so far. They're going to be playing after this bout. But those top 4 that still remain, all of them definitely capable of taking this one home. Magic City having an opportunity last year, getting shut out of it in the championship bout, or in the one of the earlier bouts.
Boy, though, that bout that Magic City did against New York last year was just absolutely amazing. I remember I announced it with Caps Lock, who announces in New York City, and he said that I left nail marks in his leg. It was that exciting. So I had my mic in one hand, and I was squeezing so hard with the other hand because it was just an amazingly exciting bout to be a part of. I was just blown away by that. And both of those teams still say that's one of the hardest bouts they've ever skated. It
was a fantastic game. It come from behind victory by the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh.
You and Caps Lock were calling that for the house. Bob Noxious and I for the stream.
That's
at
right.
At that time, and I don't think his claw marks have left my leg either.
Yeah, right? And it just, well, Bob's like that.
Yeah, he's clingy.
But yeah, that was a phenomenal bout, and that would be a great matchup to see again, obviously. But of course, you know, anybody who plays the Gatekeepers always bring an amazing, amazing game with them. They're just fantastic to always watch play Derby. Really classy guys, really great, strong, solid, basic Derby.
Well, they had a great showing when they went out to New York earlier this year, just a couple of months ago, and taking the victory home from the New York Stock Exchange on their home turf. New York may be looking to pay the favor back tomorrow morning.
Definitely, and I think, you know, when we look at teams like your mom who have come so far in those couple of years, I mean, they really started out not a lot of Derby knowledge. You have a lot of very fast skaters, and they just come from nowhere and learn all of this Derby in such a short amount of time. And they really brought it out today and showed us that they've learned a ton, and Derby is great for them, and they're really loving it, and they're really enjoying it, and they're showing other teams that they can do it. So I think any of those 4 teams can take it this year. I don't think I would be surprised at any of those, but I think we're going to find out tomorrow who that person is.
Well, that's why they play the games, as they say. They're going to match up starting at 9 a.m., although if we're still playing this game because we don't get it underway, those might have to be delayed, as we are still on hiatus here, not picking up action yet. Still waiting to get everything going. I think we may be trying to get stats things together, and I think it's coming together.
I'm sensing that we're getting close. We're getting a whistle from the refs. We're getting everybody back on the bench.
And a cheer goes up from the crowd, who is anxious for a little more roller derby.
Everybody waiting patiently to see that happen. And a big thank you, just really quickly, to the Men's Roller Derby Association. I think from all of us, really. I have to say that they are an amazing organization, and they're so fantastic to work with. They're so organized, and they love Derby so much, and they work so hard to appreciate their volunteers and their skaters. And I just want to thank them for giving all of us this opportunity to be a part of that with them.
Absolutely, and I also want to extend that to the host, the St. Louis Gatekeepers.
Oh my goodness.
The tournament last year, the Big Apple Beatdown, was a great production. They put on a great show, and I think St. Louis was able to learn from that and expand on it. And we've got action on the track, Julia.
Woo, action on the track. Gotta love that. West Hearn from Massachusetts. And Bleed'em and Reap from Portland out on the track. Western not picking up that lead jammer. Bleed'em and Reap picking up the lead jammer status and calling off the jam right away. So it was just a practice jam for them. See how that goes. If you're looking for updates on any of the things going on today here, check out DerbyNewsNetwork.com. I have Justice Feelgood Marshall to my right, studiously stringing out updates as they come out. So he's frantically working on that to get you updates and tell you all about what's been going on here. If you cannot be here today and you cannot watch the stream, check out DerbyNewsNetwork.com for all the updates.
No pack releases the jammers. Don Juan the Devastator tied up at the back for the Bridgetown Menace.
Striker being pushed out to the side and having to recycle to the back.
And Don Juan the Devastator lost his helmet cover in the scrum whenever they came off the jammer line.
Don Juan the Devastator skating backwards to pick it up. Of course, picking up that penalty for skating the wrong way on the track, so he will put it back on his helmet and take the bench for his penalty.
Just a lapse in awareness on the part of Don the Devastator right there.
And it's so easy to do because you drop it, you think I'll just go back and get it, and...
But clockwise motion on the track not allowed, at least to go get a helmet cover.
So power jam Massachusetts right now. We're going to see if we can jump up that score and close that point differential a little bit.
Striker out in front picks up 1 grand slam, so that cuts this down just a little bit. 15-point advantage in place.
Portland trying to speed up the pack a little bit, stretch that out. Massachusetts trying to slow it down, so it looks like the pack is getting a little spread out.
Striker almost manages to get around Bustin Mornose around the outside, does not manage to stick with it, but he finally gets through for another grand slam after about another quarter track.
So Striker taking full advantage of this power jam to try and sort out some extra points, coming around the outside, running right into a wall of black with Portland. Bustin Mornose backing up to try and block him, but he is going to come around for another pass. Striker just kind of battling his way through that pack right there, and it looks like number 812 from Massachusetts.
That's Belgian awful.
Headed to the penalty box, and Jackhammer also headed to the penalty box.
Don Juan the Devastator came out of the penalty box back there about a lap and a half ago, able to get through on an initial pass. I don't believe he picked up any points on that.
So good call there for the Maelstrom, able to pick up a bunch of points and not quite pull ahead. Looks like 97 to 91, but that's a lot.
Single digits is a lot better than a 20-point gap.
Definitely. So they're doing well there, and that's kind of the way it needs to be. You just chip away at it a little at a time. You don't need any of those big, huge jams.
No, not in a game like this. Those big jams are kind of hard to come by. They're few and far between, and if you're relying on those, you're going to have problems.
Exactly. So you just kind of chip away at the score a little bit at a time, and everybody cycles through, and that's the way to win bouts like this. And Massachusetts doing great, keeping their heads, keeping in the game, just sort of very carefully doing what they're doing, and I'm hoping everybody can keep their penalties low for this half because that's been a real problem for both of these teams so far.
Indeed, it's definitely probably in a game this close will have a bigger say on the outcome if they end up stacking a lot of people in the penalty box later on.
Looks like we are in a timeout. Once again, check out Ringster. Ringster runs stats. Ringster does all kinds of cool things. It records, it publishes Derby statistics. Ringster.com. Check them out. They are amazing.
So we received word from one of our announcer officials that Shreddy Mercury, number 85 for the Bridgetown Menace, has fouled out of the game, picked up a 7th box trip.
What a tough thing for them. That is, Freddie Mercury is a very, very strong player on this team, and that is going to be really tough to recover from for Portland.
So that opens the door yet a little bit wider for Central Mass here.
So Central Mass slowly chipping away at that point differential, may have a little bit of extra help. Freddie Mercury fouling out of this game, so he will not be returning to this game. If you're online and you're waiting at the timeout to do something, check out Rydell Skates, handmade by expert craftsmen in the USA for over 65 years. Rydell Skates, roller.rydellskates.com. We are back to the action here in St. Louis.
And right out in front, no big deal, blasting through the pack, but right behind him, following very closely, Gleedham and Reed for the Bridgetown Minutes.
I would say that's a pretty big deal.
And no big deal calls the jam off with no score. Both jammers really tight there, headed towards the pack on a scoring pass. No big deal calls that one off, no score. Mass still trailing by 6, 97-91, as we've played not quite 4 minutes in this second half.
Bustin Mornos up to the line for Portland, along with number 32, Smithacondria from Mass Maelstrom. Bustin Morno squeezing around the inside, beautiful move there. Didn't even notice him, and he will just take off for the other side. Smithacondria caught behind, he is caught behind the Portland team, Determinator. Determinator just not going to let him through, and so he is stuck there. Bustin Mornos making another scoring pass. Portland headed to the box for a penalty, and Bustin Mornos will pick up that grand slam.
Smithacondria now out of the pack, but he had his hands full with the Determinator, the lateral blocking by the Determinator, back and forth across the track, not allowing Smithacondria to go anywhere.
Absolutely beautiful. Bustin Mornos taking a jump on the inside, just passing to make another trip through and pick up some extra points, and then very, very smartly calling off that jam. So that's exactly how a play like that should be played. That's exactly how that should look when you're all said and done with it. So
indeed, picked up those 4 points, got out of the jam quickly. 5 minutes gone by, and the Minutes have once again opened up a double-digit lead, 106-91. 15 points separate the teams at the moment. No pack called, and Don Juan the Devastator tries to find some room on the inside, not going to get it, but West Turn picks up lead jammer out in front for the Mass Maelstrom.
Don Juan the Devastator just keeps getting massacred by these guys out here, and he just kind of bounces off of it and goes back. It's really hard to tip him over, I feel like.
Well, he's got that low center of gravity, and he's able to get lower than a lot of other skaters on the track. And we talked earlier about how how smooth he skated. I say as he almost tumbled down to the ground, tripping.
So just to give a quick shout out to the Race City Rebels out there in Indianapolis at the Red Lion Grog House. They are joined by the Naptown Roller Girls and the Circle City Roller Girls. Hello to all of you out in Indianapolis. Hope the weather is beautiful, and I hope the Derby is fantastic.
Gotta love those Indiana folks, me coming from Indiana myself.
Well, definitely.
Always love those Indiana teams back in the Hoosier State.
I always love to come visit you in Indiana when I'm there. Cilantro being beaten out of that pack, but managing to sneak through. Bustin Mornos stuck behind Burnt Reynolds. He will get the penalty for that, and he is going to sit in the penalty box. Cilantro taking advantage, hopefully, of this Power Jam, Massachusetts.
So, as you said, Power Jam in play right here. Cilantro pushed outside by Jack Hammerd. Gonna have to recycle.
That's not correct, Jack. Cilantro getting caught in behind Carpe Demon. Carpe Demon, such a big guy and very, very agile. He is going to take the penalty for that. He is headed to the penalty box. Cilantro picking up 4 more points, and he's just going to keep circling the track until he can close that point differential again, like we talked about.
Yeah, Carpe Demon with the, didn't see the call, it was either an elbow or a forearm knocking Cilantro to the ground.
So Portland full penalty box once again, running into all that penalty trouble. It is just not good for them.
And like we said, this once again opens the door for Central Mass. This is an opportunity to cut into this lead, trailing now by only 7 points. They could take the lead on this jam.
Wow, big hit from number 7, Rottentail.
Well, they could take the lead on this next scoring pass as they've now cut it to, oh, they did take the lead, 109 now to 106 for Central Mass. And so another scoring pass.
I really hope that Cilantro sees that Bustin Mornos has re-entered the pack. Looks like we do have a track cut that happened. Bustin Mornos headed to the penalty box once again.
He cut the track upon entering and got sent right back off, and he's not happy about the call. Cilantro picks up yet another grand slam, calls the jam off, and Central Mass not only taking the lead, but extending it to double digits as they now lead 119 to 106.
Beautiful, beautiful use of that power jam for Central Mass. That is exactly how they should do that. And they just chip away at it slowly like we talked about before. They're not doing anything big. They're not doing anything fast. There's no apex jumping or anything fancy. They're just chipping away at that lead a little bit at a time.
And it's like we talked about, once the penalty box filled up, that's whenever the runs start to happen.
Yep, and that's always the problem with teams is when you run into penalty trouble, that's when you're going to lose. So power jam once again. Massachusetts looks like no big deal. Running into a little trouble with Portland's defense here, but managing to come around on the inside. They are going to try and chase him down, but it does not work. He is the lead jammer.
His team was able to push all the other blockers to the outside, opening some room on the middle and the inside for no big deal to sprint through. He got lead jammer status and untouched on a scoring pass, picks up 5 points as he ducks underneath the blocker on the outside of the Bridgetown Menace.
Absolutely gorgeous move there. He just tucked and rolled basically in whatever
rolled on his skates. He didn't roll over.
They're trying to keep him back, but they're going to have to back up again, and he's just going to take full advantage of that power jam.
Well,
another grand slam.
And the Mass Maelstrom, after taking the lead, taking no prisoners in this jam either.
Yep. And they're just trying to slow down that pack for him and let him through, and he just keeps plucking away at it, taking a hit from number 8 from Portland, Bleed him and Reap, but he just cycles around back again. Number 562 from Mass Maelstrom headed to the penalty box. That is Peter Parker.
And
Weston Morneau is back on the track. No big deal, trying to skip around him.
And it looks like there could have possibly been a trip right there. Nothing called, and No Big Deal is going to call that jam off after yet another grand slam.
Weston Morneau is looking very upset by how those last couple of jams went. But it looks like Central Mass has managed to take the lead again.
Well, they're on top, and they're adjusting the score a little bit. Looks like they've now taken a 29-point lead, 135 to 106.
So Central Mass has about 20 minutes left on the clock, and this is not a big point differential here at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
And so if Portland can stay out of penalty trouble, then they should be able to get that lead back. But of course,
well, Mass was behind by 25 at the half, and that was only 10 minutes ago.
Correct. And so this bout keeps kind of changing. We're doing a little back and forth on the score here.
Yeah, there's been more than a 50-point swing so far in this first 10 minutes.
And it's interesting when people talk about what kind of play we're going to see. It's so cool to see teams. This is not the championship game. People are not like, hey, championship game, but this is such a great bout to watch because the score is so close and there's a lot of back and forth and the skill level is the same, and so these are really exciting bouts to watch. Got a little bit of a timeout going on here. Do a quick shout out here, Vanilla Derby. If you watched the Magic City Misfits play, a lot of their sponsors are on that team. Vanilla Derby, always striving to exceed your expectations. You can now upgrade to the Italian leather. They also have some new 2003 season items, the straight jacket and brass knuckle blackout boots. Really, really pretty. They're just really gorgeous boots. So get on vanilladerby.com, take a look at those. And their customer service is also very good, and they're very product knowledgeable. And so if you need to know all about the products, they can help you out with that.
So we get back underway. This time Don Juan the Devastator trying to find some room along the outside, does so. Picks up lead jammer status. Looks like West Turn still tied up behind a 3-wall made up of Rob Lobster and a couple of the other
Looks like Determinator's in there, and Determinator just really hard to get around. He has sort of an awesome booty block that happens.
Clydesdale also was up there at the front of the pack, trying to hold back West Turn. And Don Juan the Devastator getting low once again, gets under one skater, knocks another one to the ground. He's going to pick up the full 5 points on that grand slam pass, though.
So Portland trying to close the gap once again, flip the score like we've been seeing. West Turn not able to get around, but he blocks Don Juan the Devastator, a little jammer on jammer action, and is able to get around like that. Absolutely beautiful move there.
Rob Lobster tried to lay a hit on West Turn as he came out of that little bit of a scrum, was just a little bit late in getting there.
Exactly, that was absolutely beautiful. And of course, no point scored there for the Mass Maelstrom, but an excellent try by West Turn.
So 10 points or so put up by the Menace, cutting this to it looks like 9 points, cutting this to actually a 20-point deficit, 135-115. We've got 18 minutes remaining, coming down to just about the final quarter of play in Game 5. And off the line quickly is Bleedham and Reap. Nobody to contest him along the inside line.
It's like nobody was even watching him, and Burnt Reynolds right behind him. It was like nobody was watching either of the jammers at all.
He took off at a sprint, got lead jammer immediately, circled around, hit it, quit it, picked up 4 points.
Crazy.
That was a nice sequence there by the Bridgetown Menace.
It almost seemed like the pack wasn't even watching the jammers. Like they were so intent on each other that they weren't doing anything about the jammers.
He was able to just take off right at a sprint in a straight line, nobody to get in his way. So just one Maelstrom blocker in the box to start this one off.
Oh, big pile up there. A lot of tripping going on.
Bruce Payne having to step over a couple of other players. Not able to hold his place in the pack, but finds a little room along the inside, and out in front is Bruce Payne.
Cilantro stuck behind Bustin' Morno is not able to get around.
The Menace trying to mount a little run here as they've gotten lead jammer the last couple of times.
Bustin' Morno is headed to the penalty box once again. And the Determinator battling it out with Cilantro there to try and keep him back, and he does manage to, but Cilantro is just plugging away at the back of him.
It was a nice front block to knock Cilantro into the infield just a little bit.
Oh dear, Bruce Payne headed to the penalty box, and another Bridgetown player headed to the penalty box. So once again, we see Portland in penalty trouble.
Well, and as soon as I say that they're starting to mount a run, they load up the penalty box.
That's Val Capone's 101 derby. As soon as you say something, the exact opposite happens. Is what she just told me, and she's absolutely right. Oh, and then we have Cilantro from Central Mass headed to the penalty box as well. So Bruce Payne out of the penalty box. Shouldn't be too terribly long for Cilantro, though, since Bruce Payne was not in there for very long.
Nope, had a little jammer flip-flop.
Bruce Payne headed back to the penalty box, it looks like. Cilantro headed back out on the track, so we're just playing musical jammers out here in St. Louis.
So we'll see if Cilantro decides to go back and spring Bruce Payne once again, but we're only going to have about 25 seconds to see if that happens, remaining in this jam.
Bustin' Morno is back on the track for Portland, and so we are short 2 people on Portland.
And Bustin' Morno's just about took out Bangers and Stash there.
Laid a left shoulder also headed to the penalty box for Central Mass, and so we are evenly matched, but it is Power Jam Massachusetts right now, as we do have Bruce Payne in the penalty box. And we will start out the next jam, short a jammer. Heading back up to put the pack back together. Just to let you know to check out ringster.com. Once again, Ringster thanks all the volunteers and people that make Derby possible. I know the players really appreciate it. We have a little bit of timeout being called. Official timeout, looks like.
That's
or is
right.
it a team timeout?
I think it's official.
She's thinking on it.
Yep. Official timeout.
So ringster.com, once again, amazing program, and built by players and used by volunteers, and the volunteers here have been amazing in St. Louis, and I know that every league has great volunteers that help them out. And
volunteers, kind of by definition, are sort of amazing.
That's definitely true. I've been working my way kind of through the U.S. doing volunteer work while we're on our trip, and I absolutely love doing it because I love learning things. But when you talk about leagues where players kind of get all the glory and all the cheering and people talking about them, and the volunteers just sort of hang out and do their thing, and it's really important that we acknowledge the fact that they do that, because you couldn't have a scoreboard and a clean track and things like that without people that did that sort of thing. So, and I know the players all really appreciate it. The players here are great. The level of play we're at, these leagues are fantastic, and I know especially the gatekeepers who have hosted this year's tournament have been amazing and very welcoming and very kind to people. So we appreciate that. If you have a league and you're in a league, thank your volunteers. Just give them a pat on the back, because usually that's all they want. That's all they need from you.
Just acknowledge them at the very least.
So I think we're back to gameplay here in St. Louis. Looks like number 7 for Mass Maelstrom, Rottentail. I believe this is the first time he's jamming in this half.
I think that's right. We've seen him do a lot of blocking so far.
Yeah, took a big hit from Bleedham and Reap, but managed to bounce back pretty quickly, and so he's stuck behind Bleedham and Reap and number 33 Blitzkrieg from Portland. Taking some big hits, but man, he just keeps going. That's absolutely beautiful. Bleedham and Reap really trying to push him down, but he's not having it. Lead jammer status there.
Lead jammer on the power jam. It looks like Bruce Payne getting ready to come back in from the box momentarily.
Bruce Payne reminds me of that kid in A Christmas Story where they're standing waiting for Santa and he likes The Wizard of Oz. That's who he reminds me of when I see him with the goggles. They look like the goggles I wear when I scooter. So Bruce Payne sneaking up on everybody, sneaking past. That is his initial pass. He is not your lead jammer. And it looks like number 7 Rottentail will call off that jam.
He's going to pick up a couple of points, but not very many.
Mass Maelstrom still ahead, 142 to 123 over Portland in this bout. About 13 minutes left to go. Tune in pretty much directly after this bout. We got started a little bit late for the Dallas Deception taking on the Puget Sound Outcasts. Of course, Puget Sound earlier, that big loss to Magic City, which was just an amazing bout, and they skated phenomenally. It was just blew my mind to watch them. And then Dallas, of course, playing the Gatekeepers earlier today.
And Rob Lobster out of the penalty box makes the Menace at full strength.
But of course we do have some Mass Maelstrom players in the penalty box, so again we're just playing musical penalty box chairs here, no big deal, trying to get through that pack. And
Don Juan, the Devastator, the jammer for the Menace, now is taking a seat in the penalty box, so a power jam situation now in effect for no big deal.
So once again, the Mass Maelstrom have a chance to tack on some extra points.
Well, and Jack Hammer sent to the box, skates right past it the first time.
And it looks like he will not be able to take a seat because
they got one standing, so he's able to sit down. 2 of them actually now standing.
There we go, yeah, and he is able to take a seat as of now. So we have one of the Central Mass players heading back and the other one shortly following him. But we have another Portland player in the penalty box as well. So Portland short 2 people, including their jammer, and Massachusetts short 1.
So blocking even, power jam still in effect for no big deal. He is now your lead jammer.
No big deal, sort of rolling around the inside of the pack, trying to pick up some extra points. Very nicely done there. And we have a lot of jostling in the pack. Mass Maelstrom trying to slow everything down a little bit.
Indeed. No big deal around the outside, cuts to the middle to try to break through the 3 wall in front. He gets pushed to the outside while trying to call the jam off. That's going to do it.
Don Juan, the Devastator, trying to loop under the Mass Maelstrom pack, but no big deal calling off that jam before he is able.
So still at a 19-point lead for the Central Mass Maelstrom, 142 to 123. As we've got 11.5 remaining. As we said, the winner of this one plays tomorrow.
Looks like we have a little shuffling around in the pack to make sure they do have enough people and they're not putting extra people on because of their penalty trouble that Portland has run into. Striker taking lead jammer as he comes through that pack. A lot of falling down and jumping and things like that that are going on in the pack right now. What it really looks like to me is people are getting a little tired and it's getting a little bit sloppy.
Well,
honestly.
I think that's definitely the case. I think, like we've said, both of these teams have already played one game today. The Menace having finished theirs just a couple of hours ago.
Exactly, and they were big games. Those were really, really rough games on both these teams, and so I can understand how they're very tired and their play is getting just a little bit sloppy, just a little bit tired looking, and things are not flowing as smoothly as they possibly could, I think.
But they're going to need to keep their focus because this game's still within reach for each of these teams. Massachusetts, the Maelstrom now taking a 23-point lead, putting up 4 points on that last jam. But with 10 minutes plus remaining in this one, it's anybody's game. And this time Bruce Payne for the Menace just a couple of skaters to get through in front, finally does so. He's going to be your lead jammer.
And Bruce Payne, really needs to watch it. He's been in the penalty box several times. I can't imagine that he hasn't had several major penalties already.
Right.
Really needs to be careful on his penalty minutes here for this last 10 minutes because losing him could really, really hurt Portland at this point, I think.
And he calls the jam off. He picks up 4 points, it looks like, on that last pass, but the Maelstrom are going to pick up a couple of their own at the tail end of that one. So 148 to 127, back to a 21-point lead for the Maelstrom. So the Maelstrom now with a blocking disadvantage. They are 4-on-2 in favor of the Menace on the track currently. We do have both jammers on the track, and the Menace jammer trying to push through those 2 blockers in the front.
Well, that's a new one. We have both jammers in the pack. That's kind of exciting.
And that was Bleed'em and Reap, and he breaks through that 2-wall in front to pick up lead jammer status way out in front.
Cilantro looks like he's stuck right in between all the Portland players, just kind of this little this little blue dot right in the middle of the black, and he's just sort of jostling for position. Whoa! Takes a big hit from Portland's 1939 Bruce Payne. That just looked really painful, and he is headed off to the penalty box to take that penalty, and so Portland is on a power jam situation here. Hopefully can take advantage of that to close up those points once again.
So Bleed'em and Reap for the Menace once again through after a scoring pass, picks up the 5-point grand slam. Now Mitochondria also going to the box for the Central Mass Maelstrom as their pivot 562, Speeder Parker, comes back into the game.
So basically what we're looking at is sort of a revolving penalty box at this point in the game for both teams, really, and that's really frustrating to watch because they're both skating very tired, and you can tell that it's getting a little bit sloppy, but they're both skating very well. And so if they could keep the penalties down, one of these teams would have an excellent chance of taking this. But with the penalty trouble they're getting into, it's just really rough.
Well, and Bleed'em and Reap for the Menace trying to get around West Turn at the front to get a few more points on the board. They are sort of making a little run right here. They pick up at least 3, if not 4 points on that last pass. And they've cut this one. It looks like they've cut this down to a 1-point game.
Rob Lobster very, very excited about that.
So 148 to 147.
Got a big group of Portland fans right over here to our right in the audience. Good to see. Very supportive of their team. Portland just did exactly what Massachusetts did a few minutes ago and just chipped away at that score until they got a little bit further on.
Exactly what they did, and now we're almost even up once again. 7 minutes remaining. Just a few more jams to settle this one. And we've only got one jammer on the track still. It's going to be Bruce Payne for the Menace. So the Menace looking to come from behind and take the lead back in this one.
He is running right up against the front of number 7 Rottentail from Central Mass, and Rottentail not able to keep him back, but Cilantro trapped behind the Portland defense back there. Bruce Payne coming back up around. Oh!
And as Speed Bump comes back into the game from the penalty box, we have no one in the penalty box for the first time almost all half.
Oh my goodness. Kind of unprecedented for this game, isn't it?
Well, it's very nice to see based on what we were just talking about. Now that we've got a full group from each team out there on the floor, we can really see how these guys can match up.
Yeah, both teams at full strength. Cilantro looking for the penalty call from the refs, but did not get it.
Not going to last for too long as number 7 Rottentail heads to the box.
Boy, howdy, the revolving penalty box of Portland and Massachusetts.
But yeah, you can totally see the fatigue catching up with these guys.
Oh, and it's been a long day. I mean, we were here at 8 in the morning. Everybody got up early. A lot of people have skated today and done a lot of things. And so when you think about that, everybody's been up for a very long time already. Even if you haven't been skating, you've been up and you've been in the venue, and to boot, they're skating all these big bouts, and that's got to be rough on your body. And so I think these guys are ready to be done for the day.
They're really close, but they're going to have to decide who's going to win this game first. Cilantro tied up in the pack, hits the deck once again, takes a left shoulder from Rob Lobster. It was a pretty benign little, or excuse me, from the Determinator, it was a pretty benign little hit, but he's sent off to the box for it. Must have used a little bit of forearm there. But he sent Cilantro down to the floor and into the infield.
And so that is the end of that jam.
Do we have any scoring on that one?
Just a little less than 5 minutes left to go in this bout. 151 Bridgetown, 148 Massachusetts is your score update. So
Bridgetown does take the lead back.
Just by a couple, but yes, they do. And it looks like Susan B. Anarchy, bench coach for Portland, coming out to talk to the officials with her captain.
So a timeout called here. Mr. Rock heading over to the Ringster table with the other NSOs over there. I think we've got perhaps a scoring issue that they're going to iron out. What do you got for us, Julia?
I have a couple of different things. If you are online and you are wondering what's been going on all day and you're not quite sure and you haven't been close to a stream and you'd like to know, you should check out Derby News Network because they are awesome and they have lots of cool stuff going up. They've been posting updates and photos up to the minute, up-to-date information about this tournament that's going on. DerbyNewsNetwork.com, your place for all things Derby. Also, if you're looking for a new pair of skates, check out Rydell. Rydell's been around forever. I mean, they've been making skates forever. They know their stuff. They understand what's going on. And they will make them in any color you want and any size you want. And you can get wheels for them in any color and size you want. So it's just kind of a crazy thing that Rydell does over there. But check out RydellSkates.com. That's RydellSkates.com on the web to get your new pair of Derby skates.
So once again, looks like Bruce Payne for the Menace, along with Wes Turn for the Maelstrom. These guys we've seen a whole lot of in this bout so far. Two skaters in the box for the Menace.
The Determinator I love. He always looks like he's smiling. I never see him upset. He's always just grinning away. Like, no, he's a penalty. He gets hit. Whatever. He's just excited and happy about it. It's cool. He just seems so happy about everything that's going on. Like, hey, I'm playing Derby. It's super. I dig the attitude. I think it's cool. Looks like we have the bench coaches and the captains out talking to the refs about something that happened.
If you're watching on the stream, of course, you're looking there for a minute at Stunt Rocker, having a conversation off in the crowd. He'll be announcing some stuff for you tomorrow, I am quite certain.
He will indeed. I would guess that I will probably be announcing with him, as that is a Magic City Des Moines bout. He is their announcer. And he's just a crazy personality all on his own, isn't he? He's super fun.
He is. He's a great guy. He actually does skate for the Your Mom Men's Derby team some of the time.
Yeah,
not rostered right now, but he's a fantastic announcer. We're glad to have him on the crew.
And this crew, everybody really, all the volunteers, but this announcing crew has been fantastic to work with. We're just so excited about everything that's happened with this, and I feel like it's running really smoothly, and we're all really enjoying it. And this is awesome Derby. I just cannot say anything else about it. I know that's a pretty big word, and we use it a lot, and
awesome.
And I don't have a big vocabulary to draw from on that, but seriously, this is one of the coolest things I've ever had a chance to do in my whole life. And these guys are terrific, and the teams are crazy talented. And this is just such a fun thing to do, and I enjoy it every time. I'm always happy to be here. I'm always happy to be here with you guys. We have great volunteers that work here, great teams.
Well, and as Bob Knox just said earlier in the day, it sure doesn't suck to be us.
It sure doesn't suck to be us. And it's pretty terrific. When we were in the officials meeting, our head official, Miss Trial, said, we were getting notes, and there was a 2-hour meeting, and at the end she said, basically what I'm saying is you just don't want to suck at this level.
Right.
And she was exactly right, and it sure doesn't suck to be us at all.
Luckily for us, we got the best seats in the house.
We do.
You at home have some pretty good ones as well, with the folks running the camera crew here. Getting a shot of the...
I think we've been cracking these guys to our left up all day. I think they're just dying. They're like, what is wrong with these people? They are crazy.
Oh, there's plenty wrong with
this. And this is the first time they've ever done Derby, and I kind of feel for them because I don't think they knew what they were in for when they decided to sign on with the group of crazies that we are. But they seem to be handling it really well.
I agree.
They seem to be okay with it. We haven't, they haven't killed anyone yet, or Nobody's like left the building and said they weren't going to do it anymore. So that's nice to see.
Well, we go back to the action on the track.
Was challenging the number of scoring passes. They thought there was 2, but there was only 1 scoring pass. 4 points instead of 9.
So we had a little challenge to the score. That's why we were stopped right there. One of the teams thought that there had been 2 scoring passes. There was only 1, so 5 points instead of 9 on that one. We're still at 151 to 148 with 4 minutes left, and West Turn has gained lead jammer status for the Central Mass Maelstrom.
And it looks like Bruce Payne caught in between Stryker and Mitochondria. Stryker headed to the penalty box
And
for that.
West Turn picked up a grand slam on that last pass, picked up another grand slam on this pass, putting the Mass Maelstrom once again on top, taking the lead again, 158 to 151 currently.
If you're all playing one of those drinking games at home where you have to drink every time there's a lead change, I am going to assume that everybody who's watching this bout right now is very drunk.
Or passed out, yes.
Yeah.
Because there have been a lot of lead changes.
So, if you're playing that game, you might want to think twice before committing to that. Because things like this happen.
This has been a fantastic contest. I'm really pleased with. We started off kind of slow on the scoring. It has picked up in this game. Both teams sitting at right around 150 points, 300 total points scored, a little over that in this game so far.
I gotta say, Jack Hammered is out here jamming. What is that all about? And he got lead jammer.
Well, he did it
Jack
earlier
Hammered.
today and did the apex jump that scored 4 points.
Oh heck, that's awesome right there. That just makes me happy. Things like that, and he's going to do a scoring pass too.
Oh yeah,
Jack Hammered with a scoring pass. The Determinator going after him. And he can't knock him down.
He initiated the contact, took a lot of it,
sake.
spun around, kept his skates in bounds, and that's a 5-point grand slam for Jack Hammered.
Oh geez, Jack Hammered, that's awesome.
And in such a pivotal moment of the game.
Oh my goodness.
When
that's
they have
beautiful.
to absolutely keep their lead, and Jack Hammered
And
around another time.
He's going to do it again.
He
He's
only
going to call off the jam.
Only picked up 2 points on that final scoring pass, but he's like at the Indy 500, he's climbing the wall.
Glass, yeah. He's crawling up on the glass. The crowd is going nutty. They're just freaking out. This is great.
You gotta love the guy's enthusiasm.
Oh my
goodness. Such a marvel to watch out there on the track.
Well, and you wouldn't ever think to jam him ever. And I mean, it's like jamming Dirty Larry for Pete's sake. And you jam Dirty Larry, and you're just thinking, what? And Larry blocks amazing. And
Sure.
Larry's one of my favorite people, and he's an amazing blocker. But you don't jam him, and people do on occasion. But it's such a hoot to see because it never happens. And the same with Jack Hammer. You just watch him jam, and you think that can't happen.
Well, and he picked up 10 points, or 12 points.
It does obviously happen.
And Mass is up on top by 11 points with just over a minute and a half remaining.
Everybody drink.
We could be looking at probably about 1 or 2 jams left in this one.
Yeah, we definitely have 1 more jam left, possibly 2, depending on how this goes. Right at the moment, Mass Maelstrom off. But I tell you what, the way this bout is going, that could change really, really fast.
Well, and we're looking at 19 jams so far in this period. That's a lot of jamming that's gone on.
So we are back to gameplay here in St. Louis. That is obviously Bruce Payne out there. I'm trying to see who it is for Central Mass. And lead jammer is going to be very important in this jam, especially. Number 2, West Turn. And Bruce Payne coming out, lead jammer.
And Bruce Payne, like you said, out in front. This is a big opportunity for the Menace. They really have got to get on the board and put up a differential of 11 points to tie this one up.
And Mass Maelstrom is going to have to keep Bruce Payne back for this to work for them. And they're doing it so far. West Turn coming up around the outside. There's quite a debacle. West Turn coming around the outside for a scoring pass, not the lead jammer.
He came up right at the right time. That hole just happened to open up along the outside. He took advantage of it, jumped right through it.
Just beautiful. And Bruce Payne.
And that puts Central Mass out in front by 15 points now.
It looks like there is a timeout right there. Somebody tried to call off the jam. We have 44 seconds left on the clock here in St. Louis. Looks like there is a timeout, Portland.
quite likely that we're getting one jam in, although we still could get 2 in. A 12-point advantage now for Central Mass as they've updated the score 169 to 157 in favor of Central Mass over the Bridgetown Menace.
Boy, this has turned out to be a really fantastic bout. You folks watching at home, everybody in the place is very, very excited about this.
Yeah.
Turning out to just be
By far the closest
good,
game of the day.
By far the closest game, and excellent good fun for these two teams, I think. They're really enjoying themselves. And
Okay, I think we've come to the end, or almost the end of this official timeout. Could be wrong about that. Looks like lining up in the back, it's going to be no big deal for the Maelstrom. And Bleed'em and Reap.
Bleed'em and Reap for Portland, it looks like. Going to be a little swapping places there for them. A little back and forth while everybody sorts out their timeouts. Looks like the refs are having a little meeting.
Pretty big meeting,
Puget
actually.
Sound and Dallas gathering for their big game here behind all the seats, getting ready for their warm-up. Directly following this game by a couple of minutes will be Puget Sound Outcasts versus the Dallas Deception. It will be our last game of the night. And I suspect we will probably start at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's 9 a.m.
That is correct.
Please join us. Mass Maelstrom, very, very excited. Getting the crowd all pumped up.
I think there's a lot of Central Mass converts in the crowd that are cheering for Central Mass, the 8th seed in this tournament.
They have a tendency to do that to people. They get very excited about roller derby, and as a result, other people get very excited about roller derby. So they tend to be a very excitable bunch. Looks like somebody from Central Mass is being sent to the penalty box.
Yeah, it looks like Stryker being sat down in one of the blocker seats. Somebody else sent off to the bench. So a 3-on-3. I can't see the penalty box very well from here, but I think it's 3-on-3 blocking-wise for each team. So even strength, but each team down a skater, I believe, to start this one off.
Looks like we are having a discussion. Bench coaches here are having the discussion. Got the captains out talking to the refs, so we're having some kind of a discussion about the penalty call that was made. So
they're discussing how the helmet cover was removed. It was decided that the jammer removed it, so he was not eligible for a lead when he lost lead. So that was an illegal call off major.
So what happened was there was a called the jammer called off the jam. Obviously, is what happened. But what happened was he removed his helmet cover, and so that's an illegal call-off, and that is a major penalty. And so Stryker is going to take that penalty because he was not allowed to call off that jam.
Right, as soon as that helmet cover comes off, you no longer retain lead jammer status.
So my guess would be it was kind of a failed star pass sort of idea, where he tried the star pass and then figured out that wasn't going to work and then tried to call it off, and that didn't work either. So.
Around the outside is Bleed'em and Reap trying to gain lead jammer status for the Bridgetown Menace. He manages to do so.
No big deal. Catching up with him very quickly, though, needs to recycle. Bleed'em and Reap running right into the front of Jackhammer, who is not going to let him through. He's just like, nope.
No, he's
not happening.
Skating backwards, keeping his eye on that jammer.
Yeah, no big deal. Running into the back of Clydesdale and Blitzkrieg, and
that jam called off and a timeout called. Timeout called by Bridgeport.
So we have about 10 seconds left in this bout, and that does mean there is time for another jam.
That's right, we'll have one more jam.
After the timeout there, we will try that again. It looks like the Menace 157 and Mass Maelstrom 169.
12-point jam could easily happen for the Menace of Bridgetown. They're going to need it if they want to play tomorrow and have a chance at winning the 5th place game.
Definitely, and it looks like they're trying to work on some strategies to make that happen, so we'll see what they have up their sleeve.
Of course, if Bridgetown's able to make it and advance to that 5th place game and win, that advances them up one spot from 6th to 5th. If Central Mass could do it, that's a big jump from 8th to 5th.
Definitely. It looks like Central Mass has 2 people in the penalty box. Bridgetown has 1 person in the penalty box. We do have 2 jammers on the line.
That's right. Instead of having one skater in the box per team, there's 2 skaters in the box per team, 2-on-2 blocking. And around the outside.
Mass looking to take the lead jammer. West Kern taking lead jammer
All he has to
status.
do is call it off in about 3 seconds, and he's watching the clock.
Absolutely beautiful there.
And he calls
He's
it off.
going to call it off.
So a big victory for the Central Mass Maelstrom,
What?
the 8 seed.
What a phenomenal game that was. What a great group of guys, and they are very excited about this. Understandably so. We talked earlier, Central Mass playing like 13 games to get here, overturning Race City at the Tomahawk. Just fighting a battle, and they were here, and they were going to be here, and they were going to kick butt, and they did that. They showed everybody they could do that.
Yeah, I think they showed everybody that they did deserve to be here. Sorry to all of our friends at the Red Lion Grog House back in Indianapolis, but they did put on a great showing here, a great game this evening against this Menace team from Bridgetown, excuse me. And our 5th game is in the books, 169-157, a 12-point victory for the Central Mass Maelstrom. Of course, coming up, we have the other placement game, Dallas against the Puget Sound Outcasts. That should be another very physical, big game coming up.
It should definitely, and Puget Sound just played. They just played like an hour and a half ago. So
Jack Hammond coming around the victory circle, slapping hands with everybody, can barely move.
Yeah,
you can tell everybody is wiped out.
He looks really, really beat. He looks like he could use a little bit of food and a nap before he comes back tomorrow. So I'm not sure Mass Maelstrom will be around for this bout, but we're going to be around for it. I am going to swap microphones here while we're taking the break, and I will be announcing for Puget Sound in-house for that one. And then on mic, you will have a couple of other lovely folks. I believe Spider for sure, and I'm not sure who else. Spider and Bob Notches, perhaps.
Could be. Whoever it is, you're going to have a couple of great announcers coming up for this last game of the day. We will see you on the stream probably sometime tomorrow.
I think so. Mr. Ecstatic, thank you so much for being here with me. I always appreciate
Julia.
being here with you. And those of you at home, hang out for one more bout.